In this webcast we're going to create some assembly instructions like the ones that you see on the screen. So anyone that's put together flat pack furniture will recognise this. In the webcast we'll make around about the first 4 views of 4 steps of this assembly process, and we'll start off with nothing. So we'll go into SOLIDWORKS Composer and we'll open up the cabinet from SOLIDWORKS. So we browse to the SOLIDWORKS file, and you have various options of when you import, of what you do for importing the file. I'm going to check on import meta properties, which is just going to bring through all the custom properties for the individual part files. Now what this does when you open up a SOLIDWORKS file is it launches SOLIDWORKS in the background, opens up the assembly file, exports it to the Composer file type, and then closes SOLIDWORKS down. Anyone that doesn't have SOLIDWORKS on the same machine as Composer, during the install process will have the option to install a program called SOLIDWORKS Importer, which is specifically for this. Okay, so here's our SOLIDWORKS file imported into Composer. If you have an exploded view within the file, that will come in as a view. I don't need that, so I'm just going to delete it out. Now, in terms of how the model looks, we have various options. Smooth with outline are going to be similar to what we have within SOLIDWORKS, i.e. shaded with edges. There are various others that you can have a muck about with should you wish to. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to select smooth with outline. And I'm immediately going to create a new view, which is going to be like my home view, if you like, which is going to just capture the orientation of the camera relative to my model and the properties of the action of the actors and the positions of the actors. Okay, now before I get going, it's worth taking a look at the assembly tree. Now, the assembly tree imports pretty much the same as what it looks like in SOLIDWORKS. To make selection of components easy and simple, we create selection sets. It takes a little bit of time at the start, but it's definitely worth doing for later on. You'll see the benefits. So I'm just going to select various items and then hit the create selection sets button. I'm going to call that lock screws top. And the reason that we do that, like I say, is that if I now want to select those 4 items, I can do it at the click of a button rather than having to find them all within the tree. We'll just go ahead and create some more. Okay, so I've created my selection set into sensible groups where I'm going to select those groups of components at the same time. The next thing for me to do now is create my first view. So if we switch back to the PDF, it's going to look like this. So we're going to have the 2 side panels looking as if they're sitting on the floor with our lock screws exploded out from them, and a detail view here indicating what we need to do with them. So if we go back into Composer, I'm just going to select the 2 side panels like so. If I right click, I can choose from this menu to show selection and hide others. There's lots of great options here for selection of geometry. I'm just going to use that one. Okay, now I want these panels side by side, so we'll just select this panel here and we'll use the rotate tool to just spin it around 180 degrees like so. We'll then go to the transform toolbar and use the align tool to just line that edge up with that edge there, and finally just split them apart using the transform tool. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now we need to show the lock screws for those 2 panels, so we can just simply toggle them on from the selection sets area. Now the lock screws for the right hand are obviously in their original position, and we need to move them to the position that side panel has moved to. So a nice easy way to do that is use the copy transformation tool. You select the actors you want to move, you select the actor you want to move them relative to, and you can see they all snap into place like so. We'll then take both of those selection sets and just explode them out like so. Now we need to show a screwdriver in our view, so I'm just going to import that in. If we go to the File Open dialog box again, I already have a screwdriver saved away as an SMG, which is the SOLIDWORKS Composer file type. We'll just merge that into the current document, and there it is. Okay, now the panels look like they're sitting the wrong way up. We need to see them sitting on the floor. So we could rotate the view around, but the best and easiest way to do this is just to change the vertical axis of the graphics area. So we'll just change that here to X positive, and you can now see they're looking like they're sitting the right way up. Okay, we'll capture that view as it is. We still need to do a bit more work on it, but we can update it later. Now I want to move the screwdriver so it sits over one of the locking screws. So again, I'm just going to use the Align tool to do this. We'll zoom in on the screwdriver, select the circular edge. We'll then zoom in on the lock screw and again select a circular edge. Okay, we'll then just move that up like so, and to make it look a little bit better, I think I'll move both of those items back down towards the hole. The next thing I'm going to do here is just draw in a polyline to indicate that the path of the lock screw. So we'll go to the Author toolbar, I'll select Polyline, and I can snap to the centre of the shaft and the centre of the hole like so. Now there's a couple of things wrong with my polyline at the moment. It's red, I want it to be black, it's a solid line, and it's showing through the components. Now if I just go ahead and select that polyline, its properties appear down the left hand side. I'm going to change the colour to black, I'm going to change the line style, and I'm going to check off Stay on Top, which makes it disappear behind the component. Now to create the arrow, we have a dedicated arrow tool just here. I'm going to choose circular arrow, and again you can see it's snapped to cylindrical geometry like so. We'll place that down in the right position. Now again, a few things wrong with my arrow. I can see through it, I don't want to. It's red and it's flat. So if we select the arrow, we can change all of these properties. I'm going to uncheck Stay on Top, I'm going to change the colour to black, and I'm going to toggle off flat. I need to also rotate that around so the arrow's in a better position, like so. One last thing, let's just get rid of the opacity, like so. We'll then place a label down, and I'll put it on the locking screw. Now you can see that when I attach it to the locking screw, it automatically comes up with the name of the actor. Now if you've imported the meta properties, you can relate this to the custom properties of the file. So I'm just going to relate this to the description that I gave it. We'll also manipulate this so I have no border and no attach type on there, and perhaps we'll just increase the size of the text too, and we'll move it next to the lock screw. Okay, so that's going to look pretty nice for my detailed view. To create my detailed view, I'll open up the workshops, technical illustration, and we'll toggle on detailed view. That brings up this circle, and we just stretch the window so we can fit everything that we need to within our detailed view. We'll position that and hit create. And that creates a vector graphic view of what was captured within that window. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice now. We'll go back to our view 2, how it was originally. And I've got the detail view panel still selected, so we'll just, let's select it again. We'll just toggle the visibility of that on, and we don't need the screwdriver anymore, so we'll just go ahead and hide that. And that's our first view, or step 1, captured. So we'll just update that like so. If we go back to our home view, we'll go ahead and create the next view as shown in the PDF. So for this view, I'm just going to select the components that I want to show in it and use the show selection and hide others. We'll just explode the panel out to around about there. We'll use our selection set tool to show the lock screws like so, and then just copy their transformation to the panel that we've already exploded out. We want the orientation of the floor to change, so again we'll just change the vertical axis to Z positive, and then we can rotate the view around to where we want it to be, but we've got some preset views here on the Align Camera tool where I'm just going to select this one so I can see where the cams need to go. Okie doke, so we're going to show some explode lines again, some path, but this time we're going to use the actual dedicated tool for that. So if I go to the author toolbar, there is a tool on here called paths. I select the lock screws and then I click on create associative path from neutral, and you can see that it generates the path for me automatically. If I go to the and select the paths, I want to change various things about these paths, such as the width of them, the ends, that sort of thing. Now, rather than having to do this each time, you can create styles which just capture properties of particular actors, so you get consistency between your lines, your arrows, whatever you want. Now, I've created a style specifically for paths, and I just double click it and you can see the style changes for me automatically. Okay, so that's pretty much all I need for this view, so I'm just going to zoom to fit and then create my next view. Now for the next view, which is going to look like this, it's pretty much the same as before. We need to collapse our components and then create these detail views here. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn off the visibility of the paths, and we'll take that panel and the lock screw selection set and restore their neutral position, so you can see they snap back to the original location. We want to at this stage turn on the visibility of the cams left hand, and with them selected we'll just pull them out, something like that. We can again select these items and generate paths, and we can select those paths and we can subscribe them to the webcast style that I generated a little earlier. Okay, so that's looking pretty good for this this view so far. I think we'll go ahead and just capture that as it is, but we're going to create our detail views now. So the first detail view is actually very simple. We just need to zoom in on the model, click on the detail view option, and just literally capture what we see. So we'll click on create, and there's our detail view. We now need a second detail view, but we needed to do a little bit more work first, so let's just close detail view and we'll just hide away that panel. go back to where we were. Alright, so for the next detail view, we need the screwdriver in, so let's just go ahead and toggle the visibility of that on. And then we just need to move it to a sensible position. So if we just zoom in a little, first things first, we'll take that cam and we will restore its neutral position so it's sitting in the correct location. We'll then take the screwdriver using the Align tool, and we'll shift it to the right location. Okay, so the screwdriver is now in the right location, but you can see it's actually really probably too small for the cam. So all we're going to do is just select the screwdriver and then access its properties. Within its properties we have a scale value for the X, Y and Z, and we'll just change this to enlarge the screwdriver. So it'll only affect the view that we're working in. And again, just some final adjustments just so it looks like it's sitting in the right place. Okay, we now need an arrow, so we'll go to our arrow tool, circular arrow, and again we'll just place on an arrow like so, and we'll change the properties of the arrow. So again, I mean, this would be an ideal opportunity to create a style and conform it to that style, or subscribe it to that style, should I say. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And then last off, I'm just going to move that more central within my screen and zoom in a little bit, and then we'll create the detail view. We just click on create, and the detail view is created for us. Okay, let's go back to view 4. To where we were, and then if we go to our collaboration tab, those last two detail views that we created are both there. Okay, now we'll just place those side by side like so, or one on top of the other, and on the one that I have selected now, I don't want an arrow pointing to that, so I'll just turn off the attach type, set that to none, such that it looks like that. So that's looking pretty good. In terms of its size and placement, we can be really sort of fine-tune its location, its size with the properties of it, but I'm just going to do this by eye. Okay, that's looking pretty good, so we'll just update our view with those panels in. Okay, next up, what we're going to do is create the next step. So it's pretty similar to the first one, apart from the fact that we're doing the other side. So we should be able to use these same panels again now we've created them. We just need to get the view looking correct. So just temporarily we'll hide those away. We'll also turn off our paths, they're not needed, and we'll send the cams back to their original location by restoring their neutral position like so. We want to bring in the visibility of the other panel like so, and we want to spin this around so I can see it. So if we just go to the home menu, we'll just align the camera like so. We also need to turn on the visibility of the right hand cams and select them and explode them out like so. Well, again, with them selected, just create a path, and then if we select those paths, we'll subscribe them to the webcast style so they look correct. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. all we need to do now is just take those two panels that we created earlier and shift them. So we'll have those over this side this time, and maybe the attach connected somewhere sensibly, so let's say around about there. Okay, again, I'm just doing this by eye in terms of positioning. You can be much more careful about it should you wish to. And that is pretty much that view done. Now if you want to, for reference, you can give these views a descriptive name. We're just about ready to start exporting these views out to stick in our instruction manual. So we're going to start off with the cover. Now we have our technical illustration workshop up already. Within here we have various profiles, so you've got some pretty decent default ones to choose from, and what those profiles do is just change the settings within here, so you can choose things like the global line width, the construction line width, the shadow width, whether you want color regions, whether you want shadows, etc, etc. So for instance, I've got mine set to HLR high. Now if we have a look at how that's going to look when we export it, we can just hit the preview button and that's what we get. So you can choose to adjust this to suit, or you can pick from another profile. So let's just have a look at a different one. Okay, so you can see we've got some shadows in there now. The construction edges are generated slightly differently, and that sort of thing. So we can get an idea of how it's going to look before we export it. Now I'm just going to go back to HLR high, and we're going to start saving these out. So we'll click on Save As. I'm going to save it in a folder that I generated called For Webcast, and the file type that I'm going to use is EPS. So we'll just go ahead and save that as the name of the view, so I'll call that cover, and click on Save. Now just to highlight what's actually going on here, we're saving these as vector graphics and not raster images, and the benefit of doing that is that we generate lines basically, so we can zoom in really close and the image won't pixelate at all. If we do the same with step 1, again we can have a look at how it's going to look on export, and if we're happy we can just click on Save As, and I'm just going to save this again as an EPS and call this step 1. And finally step 4. Okay, so my views are now saved. Now for the next bit I'm just going to bring those views into a document. I'm going to use InDesign for this, which is an Adobe program, but you can use Microsoft Word as well. That will handle EPS file types. Okay, so we have a document that's been started for us already. I'm just going to bring in some of those views. The reason that I'm using InDesign, by the way, is when I bring in my views, they look quite nice. When you do it in Word, they don't. When you print them or export them out from Word as a PDF, they're fine, but they just don't look nice in the preview. Okay, so we'll start off with the cover and we'll just drop that in like so, and I'll just place that in. We'll then go for step 1, so again I'll just go File, Place, choose step 1. This image will need resizing, so we'll just position it roughly in the right position to begin with, and then we'll just resize it to suit. Okay, so that's my document looking quite nice. Now, just a couple of other things. One of the major benefits of using Composer for doing this kind of documentation is the fact that it works alongside SOLIDWORKS, which means that if you make any changes to your SOLIDWORKS model, for instance, those changes can be passed through straight into Composer. So, for instance, if we look at this view here, we have our top. Well, it looks like that on the screen. Now, if we go into SOLIDWORKS, so we have the cabinet open in SOLIDWORKS at the moment, and we have our top, and all I'm going to do is open that up in its own window and then unsuppress a few features. We'll save and close all of that. Okay, if we go back to Composer now, all I'm going to do here is update the geometry. So in this case I'm going to select the individual component that I want to update, but it is possible to update the entire SOLIDWORKS Composer document with the assembly. I go to Geometry, Update, and then I find the file. Click on Update, and you can see the geometry is updated for me. Now if we go back to our view, like so, we'll just go ahead and save that same view out now as our EPS file type, and also with this view there's no reason why we shouldn't have a bit of perspective on it as well, so it looks a bit nicer. So if we just go ahead and click on Save As, we'll select EPS again as the file type, we'll save it in the same folder, overwriting our original. Okay, now if we switch back to InDesign, and this is the same with Word, when you import a file into it, it's possible for you to create a link between the image that you've imported in and the document that you're working in. So within InDesign here, I've got my link shown. These are referencing all of those EPS files, and the cover is shown with a warning next to it, and that's because the link is out of date. So if we just update the link, we get the view replaced with our new geometry. So really the benefits of using Composer is that you can start creating this type of documentation very early on in the process, and if the model changes, you can push all of those model changes through to Composer, as well as all of the documentation that is created from Composer. Okay, now I hope you found the demo useful. We have a couple of future webinars coming up as shown on the slide. Thank you for watching.